This is on the missing micro level of organization in life. And the missing micro level of organization begins with meetings where people don't meet people in meetings. Research has shown that if you go into the private room of someone for a few minutes, you can no more and more accurately predict their reactions and activities, kind of person they are, and how they behave, than if you work with them 40 hours a week at a job for a year. So part of this is Western tyrannical management, which allows very little of a person at the workplace. Um, but part of it also is that meetings are places where people don't meet. Now we say ideas meet, but that's a Descartian abstraction, a kind of sickness of the Western mind. And then the East has an opposite sickness where emotions meet, but ideas don't meet in meetings. And so the problem with the West is meetings that are too short and totalitarian, and people are treated like machine parts to just do their role and keep the rest of your life out of it. And then in the East, we have too much of the person coming around at work, and everybody giving their personal feelings about every issue endlessly and meeting after meeting and nothing getting done. And there's a happy medium where the people meet in meetings, and the ideas meet, and the emotions meet, but no one of those three dominates. Structure, scientific rules of order is one. Evidence-based rules of order is another. There's several of these ways of balancing those three. Then there's the other issue of discussions where views don't change. So we meet in the hallway, or we have a side conversation at a meeting, and I tell you my view, and you tell me your view, and we both end up more entrenched in our own rightness as a result of the discussion. Those are non-functioning discussions. That's a way of discussing that doesn't work. Now, most of us are deeply, deeply embedded in that. We get it from our parents and our society. And our parents and our societies are very, very sick at the point that very little discussing goes on. If you require, as the output of discussing, to be that some of X's viewpoint spills over to Y, and some of Y's viewpoint spills over to X. By that criteria, extremely little discussing actually goes on. Now, there are ways of getting discussing to go on where viewpoints actually change. It's called stratified responding. And it's where both parties or all parties, 3 or 4 parties to an event, stratify their responses by everyone talking about what they noticed first before everyone moves on to what they felt at those noticings, before everyone moves on to what they were reminded of and associated with those noticings, before everyone moves on to what interpretive frame they therefore brought from that reminding to interpret the meaning of those noticings, et cetera, et cetera. Then we have corporations, hierarchies, and teams where anything with a group of 20 or larger is highly structured, and then anything smaller than a group of 20 people is just this chaotic meeting and meetings without meeting and discussions without view changes. And so the foundation, 99% of the daily activity of all these higher level structures is weak and incompetent. And what would happen? This is a point of leverage. What would happen if you had meetings where people met and ideas met and feelings met and they were balanced? And what would happen if you had discussions where view changes occurred as the foundation of everything else that you've got structured in a business? So this is called the missing micro level of organization in life. And so the solution is to inject semi-structured ways of discussing. Now, the ways we discuss now are semi-structured, but it's unconscious structures we learn from our parents that don't work. Unconscious structures we learn from our society and schools that don't work. So switch to some working semi-structures and some semi-structured meetings, semi-structured discussions, semi-structured meeting. Inject a micro level of organization into that level of society, and then get 8,800% on average productivity improvements as a result. I've done this for 40 years. It works. Now, there's nothing terribly revolutionary about this. It's a simple idea. And it comes as a side effect of my main thrust to replace the 5 basic cognitive interfaces of life and the 5 basic social interfaces of life and the 5 basic emotional interfaces of life. The 5 basic cognitive interfaces are meetings, discussions, classes, and work processes, brainstorms, and prose text. and replace meetings with scientific rules of order, replace discussions with stratified respondings, replace classes and work processes with mass workshop events, replace brainstorms with social design automata, and replace prose text with fractal page forms.